Good morning. Kate here, bringing you this week's Monday Mission, and we are on week 42. So I hope you had the most amazing Thanksgiving last week, holiday. I hope you were able to let go of some things that we talked about last week so that you were able to be more in the moment and have a holiday that met more of your needs rather than worrying about everyone else's so much. So I hope that was a good holiday for you. And this week we're talking a little bit more about managing our minds. So I've been talking about this on my Instagram page. If you don't follow me on Instagram, it's Reclaim with Kate. And I've been kind of mentioning this idea of managing our minds and what that even means. And so I thought I would take today to go a little bit more depth into that and share kind of how I even got to the place where I started to manage my mind and how I did that and what that opened up for me, so that you can kind of see where I'm coming from, but then you can also see what's available there for you to begin managing your mind and what that can lead to in your own life. So, we want you to think about a day where you've ever just had one of those days where you either were really anxious or you were beating yourself up about something, being really critical of yourself. And because you were kind of in that mindset, you picked a fight with your partner and then you snapped at the kids in the morning because they were late or they hadn't done something that you had asked them to do. And then you sent a snarky email at work because you were blaming someone else for something that had happened. And then you got home and you were just completely physically and mentally drained from the day, right? Or have you ever had one of those days where you woke up and your mind is just racing already? It's just spiraling from the second your eyes open. And it starts with all the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I don't get this done? Oh my God, I have so much to do. I'm so overwhelmed. I should be doing this. I should be doing that, right? You start shooting all over yourself before you even put one foot out of the bed, right? And your mind just starts going, okay? This was basically like all the time for me before I really started to take some ownership over what was going on and what my thinking was and really started to manage my mind. So I had a lot of these days where I was just drained, honestly, from the mental exertion that I had to put in to be so anxious, to worry so much, to have spiraling thoughts, to have constant negative self-talk, right? It's exhausting. And it's still that my brain definitely still does these things, but I've learned how to manage them. And so I just want to talk to you a little bit about what that looks like, and again offer that to you as something to look to that you could find for yourself as well. So the way that I think of managing your mind is it really is just taking ownership over your thinking. It's understanding your brain. It's understanding why your brain does what it does. It's realizing that your brain is very similar to everyone else's brain, right? You're not alone in a lot of this that you're going through, where sometimes it can really feel like you're the only one going through this. And to me, managing your mind is being able to start showing compassion for yourself. For me, that came from understanding my brain, right? That came from understanding why I react the way I do to certain things. Knowing that it was really just science. And a lot of times it was, just what we all do as humans and how the brain works, took a lot of shame out of it for me, right? So I wasn't thinking any longer. I wasn't, thinking that I was the only one that thought this way and I should just choose to think positively. And what's wrong that you can't just do that, right? So a lot of shame for it was taken away when I started to really learn about my brain and why it does what it does. And so that helped me to heal. That helped me to begin managing my mind. Managing your mind also gives you a lot of choice, okay? Because what you'll learn through managing your mind, and I've taught, through many videos here, we're on video 42, right? Is that when you recognize that your thoughts create your feelings and your feelings create your behavior, right? Once you recognize that you're telling yourself a story about everything that happens in the world, right? Everything that happens to you that you're experiencing, we tell ourselves stories about it. And those stories that we tell ourselves lead to feelings, and then those feelings lead to our behaviors, and then we get some kind of result from that behavior. What you will realize when you learn that is you then have a choice, okay? So this is actually something that's really empowering. At first I was a little like, oh, seriously, so it's on me, right? I'm the one that has to take the high road and everything. I'm the one that has to manage her mind when everyone else gets to just react and act the way that they do. They're not taking ownership of their own stuff, right? I got kind of defensive and felt like it was more pressure. But when I really worked through it, I found that it was really empowering, right? It actually gives you freedom from all of these unproductive thoughts because you realize that you get to choose your thoughts. You get to choose the story that you tell yourself. And since you get to choose, you can choose the one that feels better, right? You can choose the one that leads to better feelings, okay? When that opened up for me, it was just so freeing and so empowering. Didn't say it was easy, but it was empowering to know that I could change the story. I could change how I felt about a certain situation or something that was going on. So I want you to truly think about the following. I'm going to read some scenarios to you, and I want you to truly think about what it would feel like if you were able to do these things. If you had the power and you could reclaim your life and reclaim your thoughts and your energy and not be wasting energy on these unproductive, spiraling, self-critical, worrying, shooting all over yourself, what if thoughts, right? If you could have all of that energy back, what would that look like in your life? How would you show up if you were able to manage your mind and not have all of that going on? So, I want you to think about what if you began to feel anxiety and what I'm talking about, that feeling where your heart starts to race, your thoughts spiral, right? What if you could manage your mind and go, hold on, I know exactly what's happening here. And you could grab a tool from your toolbox, use that tool, and you could move on and not go down the anxious spiral that is so familiar to you, right? What if that could happen? What if that could happen for you? What would that feel like? Okay. What if, when you began to worry, you could understand how your brain works and how worrying works, and you could redirect it? What if you had the power to do that, the choice to do that? What if you have an argument with your partner and you could stop yourself from saying the snarky thing? You could stop yourself from bringing up the past, something that happened in the past, right? It could be a more productive disagreement than maybe what it's been in the past, right? Or you could avoid shutting down or being passive aggressive, right? What if you could have a more productive response to a disagreement with your partner than what you typically have now? Okay? What if you could no longer be triggered by your mother-in-law? What would that open up for you? How much energy would that give back to your day and your life if you could not be triggered by other people anymore, right? Now, I will say it doesn't completely eliminate or go away. I still get triggered, right? But I now understand to recognize it, and then I have a choice. This is where the choice comes in. I can choose which story to tell myself about it, right? I can tell the story that triggers my feelings that don't feel good and are resentful and trigger anger and trigger judgment, right? Or I could tell the story that feels better, okay? I now have a choice where I didn't feel before, right? I felt like I was just a victim to my thoughts and how other people acted, and that's just what I was going to have to deal with, right? But what if you could not be triggered by that comment that your mother-in-law makes? Okay, think about it. Think about how that would feel. What if you could look in the mirror and at the very least not criticize your looks, not criticize your body, okay? And I'm not saying maybe you can't get to that point where you can look in the mirror and you just love every bit of yourself, right? But what if you could look in the mirror and not criticize it? not criticize the reflection. Okay. For me, that was huge. That opened up so much energy and time and gave me so much freedom back into my life that I was able to use towards other things that I really wanted to spend it on, right? What if you could go even an hour without having a negative thought about yourself? Do you think you could do that right now? Do you think you could go an hour without having a negative thought? I bet it's tough. And I say this because I know it is. I'm the same way, right? What if you could set a boundary and uphold that boundary without feeling guilty? What would that open up for you? What would that change for you in your life? What if you could feel less overwhelmed at work? What if you could learn to take care of yourself and make yourself a priority, again, without the feeling of guilt? How would you show up in the world if you were able to do these things? Okay. What if you could learn to be present in the moment and truly enjoy the moment that is sitting right in front of you? Okay. What would that do for you? What would that look like? What would that feel like? How would you show up? Right. For me, it helped every area of my life. I became a better mother, daughter, partner. I showed up better. I impacted others in my life because of the way that I was showing up, right? So there's this ripple effect, right? When you're taking care of yourself and you're managing your mind, it impacts your children, your partner, your in-laws, your own family. It impacts your coworkers. It impacts the person that checked you out at the grocery store, right? It has a ripple effect. It impacts everyone around you. If you're able to show up in that place of understanding your brain, managing your mind, right? It just opens up so much. Okay, so I want you to really and truly think about what if you could let go of the perfectionism, the people pleasing, the lack of boundaries, the negative self talk. How would you show up in this world if you could let go of all of those things? Okay, so how do we do this? Well, we use all of the tools that I've been talking about in the videos, right? So we do our AAA method, where it's we have awareness of the thought, we have acceptance of the thought, and then our aspiration. Who do we aspire to be, right? What kinds of thoughts do we want to be having? We're recognizing other people's um, way that they show up, right? And that we can't, that our behavior does not impact their feelings, right? Their thoughts create their feelings. And just like our thoughts create our feelings, right? So it's all of these tools that we've been talking about for 42 weeks now, right? That you can start using to manage your mind. But what I really want to offer you is some clarity around this, right? So for me, I had to get really specific about what I wanted to work on, right? Because you can gather all of these tips and tricks and strategies and right, but if you don't have someone there helping you show up and do these strategies and use these tools, it's not going to be as effective. It absolutely can still benefit you. And that's how I started too, right? I just started by doing things on my own, learning on my own, and implementing it. But once you're able to show up with this toolbox and say to someone else, this is me, this is how I'm showing up, this is how I'm thinking, how can I use this tool the best, right? And then that person helps you feel seen and heard and validated and holds you accountable and checks in with you, right? That is when you get the most benefit. That is when you really see the difference of how managing your mind can impact all areas of your life, right? So that is what coaching is. Coaching is me showing up and seeing you and hearing you and validating you, challenging your thinking sometimes, but helping you use those strategies so that you can find that power, find that choice, reclaim your life, let go of these things that are just draining you and helping you gain your time and your energy back in order to, to manage by managing your mind, helping you be the one to hold you accountable for managing your mind. So at the link that is listed below this, there is a calendar link that you can click on and schedule a clarity call with me. So that's a one-on-one call over the phone where we would talk about how these things are showing up in your life, right? You would share with me where you feel like you need help managing your mind the most. And then we would talk about that. I would ask you some guiding questions to figure out what's really going on. And then I would share with you how I think I could help you. And then you could decide if you wanted to work together, right? So this first call is just to help you find some clarity. You'll walk away with at least, a focus of an area that you need to start working on to help manage your mind. And then, I always share resources in that first call where you can start that process for yourself. And then at the end of it, like I said, I'll share what I have available as far as programs and what I would do as your coach. And then you can decide if you think it's a good fit for you. But if you want to really take the next step to managing your mind and getting things in place so that you can really start seeing that ripple effect that we talked about, where it just impacts everybody else that's in your life and everyone that's around you, then schedule in that link, right? You can choose a day and a time that works best for you to have that call. And then, or you could just reply to that email. Okay, whatever is easiest. Sometimes I'm not the most tech savvy. So if trying to schedule through the app isn't your jam, that's fine. Just respond to this email that you're interested in scheduling a clarity call, and I'll reach out to you and we'll set up a time. But I just wanted to offer that today, talking about the next step and just having you imagine, even if this just motivates you to really go back and use all of the tools that we've talked about through the emails. I just wanted you to kind of envision what life could be like if you took some power back, if you managed your mind, and to see and feel and think what that would be like if you were able to show up as that person. All right. So as always, share with me anything that came up with you, anything that came up over the holidays, maybe if the let it go strategy worked for you, or if something came up from that you wanted to just kind of process together, we can do that. And if you're interested in scheduling the clarity call, click the app to schedule anything that's available, or just reply to the email. All right, so I hope you have a great day. I do have a journal prompt for this one, and it's just, I want to show up as, and then fill in the blank. Okay, I want to show up as, and this is going to help you kind of think about who you want to show up, and that could be anyway, how you want to start managing your mind, an area that you want to show up more empowered and have more freedom in. Okay, so that's our journal prompt. So as always, share with me, and I hope you have the best day, and I will talk to you soon. All right, take care.